What's your take on letting people work? I personally feel it's a complete waste of time for everyone involved. It's bad for you and it's bad for them. I've had this conversation several times over on Instagram and it always sparks a lively debate. But before we jump in, it's time for you to put in some work and like and subscribe. Now first, let's address the fact that letting people work comes from a good place. It's much better to let someone climb all over you and land shots than it is to beat the brakes off of somebody with less experience. It stems from trying to be a good training partner and educating those who are in the early stages of their development. Being a good training partner is incredibly important. They're our most valuable resource on the mats. Training partners are worth their weight in gold. Without them, we can't accomplish much of anything. Now understand, letting people work is open to interpretation. And there's varying degrees of what constitutes letting people work. There are as many opinions on this topic as there are people who have them. When I think of letting people work, I think of its most extreme example. In Jiu Jitsu, this looks like letting people pass, pin, sweep, and submit you so that they can see what it feels like. In striking, it could look like shelling up and letting people land shots so that you turn into a real-life Bob. I'll admit, this is way less common in striking, but it does happen. And to be clear, I'm not throwing shade. I've certainly done this myself in the past. In fact, it wasn't until brown belt where I had this shift in perspective. I realized that letting people work was depriving them of an authentic training experience. And to boot, I was squandering what precious little time I had for my own training. It was a lose-lose proposition for everyone involved. Now let's unpack this a bit more so that we can see where our intentions and our actions aren't really aligned when letting people work. Let's start with intentions. Our intentions are to be helpful, to let folks get a sense of what a particular move feels like. But is that really what's happening? On what planet would a relative beginner be able to pull anything like this off? Additionally, how is this improving my game? We already become more conditioned the better we get at the sport. We simply don't have to work as hard to execute our game plan. This is a main reason why engaging in a regular strength and conditioning routine is critical for advanced practitioners. If you're further along in your development, there's a very good chance that you're one of the better people in the room. So does that mean you're letting most, if not everybody, work? Using your training time in this manner is a race to the bottom. So what should we do then? As mentioned previously, there are degrees to this. First, let's discuss the most obvious scenario when doing this. The person is brand new. I would say that anybody in their first 6 to 8 months of training would fit this bill. For these people, we have to meet them where they're at while still giving them reactions that will aid in their development. Here, I'll typically implement what I call coaching rounds. Once they reach the chosen objective, I reset the position. And when I say reset the position, I mean I reset the position. We don't stop the clock and reset from where we started. I will put them into the original position and I will let them know that that's what I'm doing. I'll also have them resist my efforts. This now becomes mutually beneficial for both parties. They're working on their skills while I'm working on mine. All of this is done at appropriate intensities on my end. They're new. They're going to be spazzing out, doing all kinds of weird shit. It's my job to bring them down to a level that is controllable. So I am going to measure my intensity. They don't know how to measure their intensity yet. That's okay. Now, if someone's been training a year or more, they've likely experienced enough intensity that turning it up on them a little bit isn't exactly a shock to the system. And this is when I start to slow cook motherfuckers. Now we're having fun. I let them know just how little they know in the most gentle manner possible. I'll pick an objective that I want to accomplish and only do that for the entire round. I'll often constrain myself to one pass, one pin, one submission, one sweep, whatever, and I'll often let them know that's exactly what I'm trying to do. In Muay Thai, I'll work on pure defense or counter-striking or creating better angles. The more experienced someone becomes, the higher the intensity rises. Experience and intensity. These things rise and fall together. This way, everyone's getting the most out of their training and developing their skills. All ships rise with the tide. Now, by this point, you might be saying to yourself, Adam, that is letting people work. And conceptually, I'd agree. As I mentioned earlier, there's many interpretations to what this could mean. But from what I've seen and experienced in practice, it often turns into some bullshit looking fight choreography. That's not combat, that's kata. Training should be hard, it's not for everyone. And in order to sharpen our skills and progress in this thing that is so important to us, it would be a pity to throw away what precious little time we have together. If you like this post, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you didn't, let me know why in the comments. I'm open to changing my mind.